First of all, I must thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He brought me over here and meet my brothers and sisters here. I'm very grateful to my friend Mujib Qazi Saab. He is he's the chairman of North Texas Islamic Council and yes, yes, Imam Council, and he actually organized all those visits, and without him it would not have been possible. May Allah give him ajr. And I'm very grateful to brother Muhammad Isa Javed. He took me around the whole facility. So on one side I was very happy, I was delighted to see that. On the other side, deep in my heart, I was very much sad because I come from a country which is supposed to be a very important Muslim country. But Masjid, at the most of the masajid there, they are just part-time praying places. And most of the time, after the prayer, we lock it. And not only we lock that facility, we lock our iman inside as well. And don't carry this iman to our shops, to our businesses, to our hospitals, to our homes even. So unfortunately, this is the situation. But when we come here in so-called a kafir country and we see the efforts brothers and sisters are putting here, this is really remarkable. And I have no reason to not to believe this, that if you grow your children here in the vicinity of this mosque, for example, or any other mosque, I can assure you your children are more safe here in this kafir country than into Muslim country. So that actually saddens me, and inside I feel a lot of pain about it. So may Allah reverse this situation, may Allah change this situation. Now the topic which I'm going to talk is the parenting. And there is a misconception about this topic, which means this is how to learn the techniques to make acha bacha banana, to make good children. This is not. Parenting is not something which we work on the children. Parenting is something we work on parents. Parenting means what are the skills that parents can become good parents so that as a result of it, their children become a good children. And in this half an hour time, it will not be possible to do complete justice with it. But I have designed my talk in such a way that there must be some kind of a take-home messages which I can just give. And the messages should be such that we can implement it tonight. So I will try my best to do that. See, the most important time in an adult's life is when he has a baby. This is the most important time in a life of an adult, mother and father, starting from day 0 to year 5. And a parent has to be at its best during these 5 years period. Because somehow, if parents are careless, if parents don't know the principles of learning what is cognitive psychology of a newborn and a child less than 5 years of age, then they just miss the train. And they even don't know that by the age of 5, they have done an irreparable loss in the whole thinking pattern of the children. Because human psychology is such, and the pattern of a development of a newborn to 5 years of age approximately is such, that those of us who are doctors here, they know that we can check the electrical activity in our brain with EEG, electroencephalogram. If we do an electroencephalogram of a newborn or someone of 1 or 2 years of age, that pattern is totally different from an adult pattern. The pattern which a child has is of a hypnotic pattern. In other words, when he comes in this world, he is just like a brand new computer, but without any software. And from day 0 to approximately 5 years of age, he is in a recording mode. And whatever is happening around him or her, he is continuously recording it. And this repetition of those things which are happening around him or her results in development of a pattern which is just like a foundation of a building. Now, after that age, how tall that building will be, how decorative that building will be, how beautiful that building will be, that will be just an incremental change on it, but the basic foundation remains the same. And if that vital period of the time is carelessly being spent and the principles of parenting are not followed properly, then sometime irreparable change occurs and a brain becomes which is called the habit brain. And most of us, all adults, we live our life 95% of the time according to our habit brain. And there is a very small window of conscious brain, which is just 5%, where there is a possibility that adults can change. Otherwise, for almost all adults, we can say, and I can talk about that 5% window later on, but for all adults, almost always we can generalize that habits go with head. And they have the habits and they will stay. Now, what are those vital things during 5 years? Number one, children don't do what we ask them to do. They do what we do. There is no method, there is no neurological connections in the brain in which a child can perceive something which is ethical or unethical, moral or immoral, Guna, sawab, Jannat, dozakh, khair, shar. Till the age of 5, approximately. Obviously, it is not that on 31st of the January it will be different and the next day it will be different. There is a gray area according to child's own capacity. But roughly up to 5 years of age, a child does not do a thing, does not make a habit based on these yardsticks. Ethics, morality, good, bad. The child has only one criteria, and that is lovable and non-lovable. And the conscious parenting means when parents know that this is ethical, when parents know that this is right, when patient knows this is haq, they create it as a lovable experience around the child. And child will learn it. No matter you want to teach them namaz, no matter you want to teach them basketball, you want to teach them how to clean the प्लेटें साफ करना उनको सिखाना चाहते हैं, you want to teach them anything or the academic education. If you teach them as a non-lovable activity, they will not learn it. Or even if they will learn it, it will not become part of their neurons. It will go into their memory only. But if you create anything as a lovable experience, then they will not only learn it, it will become their conscious pattern. And we need not to continuously remind them, and they will keep on doing it. I can give you an example of namaz. One way to teach namaz, all of us wants that our children should be very regular in prayers and namaz. One way to teach that is that we all the time tell them that you have to recite namaz, you have to pray. These are the benefits, these are the virtues, these are the, this can happen to you if you don't pray 5 times for the namaz. This is one way of doing it. The other way of doing is that don't say anything to the child, but a child of 2 months of age, he just observes that a sound comes and suddenly something happens in a room. Baba, uncle, grandpa, they get up and they go to the washrooms. And when they come up, their hands are wet. And previously, they were sitting without a cap and they try to find their caps and they just leave the home. And something happens with mama as well and the elder sister as well. She also just, before that, her head was not covered. She suddenly takes something to cover her head. And then she just, if TV is on, they turn off the TV. And then they also go to the washroom. And after that, they come and they spread a piece of cloth. And they just hold their hands there and become silent. This a child is just watching 5 times a day at the age of 1 month. And you can never imagine that one day it happened with me. For my granddaughter. I have a photograph in my mobile where my daughter-in-law took a picture. I couldn't see it because I was praying in the home. And suddenly my granddaughter, she was 1 year and few months old. We never asked him to pray. She was just standing behind. By the way, it was a scorching summer season in Bahawalpur. And she was wearing a knicker, short knicker. Right? And she did not realize her legs are all not covered. But she tried to cover her head with a piece of a shirt because she saw her mother doing it and she was just sitting. I have that photograph. Now, although we didn't say him, so this is true for any action. If you create it as a lovable experience, a child will adopt it without being asked to do it. Mothers have a complaint that their children, they are not very studious. They don't spend time with the books. There is one way is to always scolding them, always just reminding them, putting an alarm and asking them to just, why don't you study? What is your scores? Why you not have A+? Another way is that when a child opens his eyes, he finds that the most prominent place in the living room has a cupboard of books. Mama also has got a shelf of books along her sitting table. Dada Abbu also, when he opens up, he has a book, but somehow he kisses the book before he opens it up. And everyone is reading. Now, this child requires only one advice as far as studying is concerned, and that advice would be, for God's sake, now stop. Just sleep. Just leave the books. That is the only advice you have to give to that child. Because now it is a lovable experience. I remember those of you who were schooled in Pakistan, that there is a Adi Chutti, there is a recess. And school room is air conditioned or have got fans and it is comfortable. And the playground is muddy. There is dust going on. But when there is, bell rings, students just run in the ground and they just start playing with the mud. Although it's a very painful, it is very disturbing. And sitting in a room is very comfortable. But that is a lovable experience. And this is not a lovable experience. So in summary, the basic principle for 5 years is that whatever we consider is correct, create it as a lovable experience, as a contextual experience, and the child will just record it. Because when you have a child in your home, it is as if you are being monitored by closed-circuit television cameras. And these cameras don't only monitor when you stand up, when you sit, what you eat, what time you sleep. These cameras are so sensitive that they can even record what is going on in your heart. Whatever good feeling or bad feeling you have, it is being subconsciously transferred into your children's mind. So if, for example, the relationship between mama and baba is not good, and somehow a child hears loud voices coming from mama papa's room, now this may be enough to create a pattern in his neuronal system which may affect throughout his life. If, for example, somehow a child perceives that father is involved in some kind of immoral activities, and that is only 3 years old child, we as a parents and adults can't imagine the level of impact which is there on that child's mind. If father is very harsh, whenever he comes, he's very angry, he's very shouting, always shouts on everybody. Now, if a child is attached to the father, for him this will be the normal pattern. And he will be the person, when he'll go to school, he will bully the younger students. When he'll get married, he will be having bad relationship. When he will be a boss, he will be very harsh with his subordinates. And if that child in which there is a problem with the parents is more attached to the mother, he will have a victim psychology. And all the time he will be suffering. All the time he will be complaining. All the time he will be submissive. All the time he will be on the side where he will be feeling the pressure of the society. Right? So this is the message number 1. Please remember, our children don't do what we ask them to do. They do what we do. And our doing does not mean just talking. Our doing means how we behave, how we think. So now you can ramify it. And the simple way to implement in our life, if you want to implement it today, tonight if you want to do it, I will just request you to go home and take a piece of paper and write down all those qualities you want to see in your child. You want him to be honest, you want to be hardworking, you want him to be studious, you want to be religious, you want to be regular in prayers, you want him to be healthy, you want him to go to gym, you want him or her to take a good food, healthy food, and then make a scale of 10 and just mark what mark you will give to you out of those 10. If you want your child to be hardworking, just give a score to yourself out of 10, how much is your score? And just work on that sheet. It is such a beautiful knowledge, this technique of parenting, that you work on yourself, but the results are seen in your children. It is such a beautiful science, right? So whatever you want to make your children, just start working on yourself and you will see the results. This is number 1 for, take-home message for less than 5 years of age. The second thing is that, by the way, I would like to just mention Javed. Jawad, can you identify please, Jawad? Jawad is my classmate from class 6 to FSC. And he was Pakistan Air Force and now he's here. And Hamid, can you please? Hamid is, he was a best graduate of our college. We were in medical school. Both of them live in Dallas. So he's, mashallah, he was our role, best graduate. And I'm very grateful to both of them that they just came here. So what I was telling you was, the second important thing is that when we have stress, there is a sudden chemical changes in our body. For example, I give this example very frequently, that suddenly I saw a cobra coming out underneath this table. And suddenly when it just pans and, it just shows its face to me, immediately what will happen, that epinephrine and norepinephrine will produce in my blood, which will result in my pupil being dilated, and blood will shift from many vital organs and it will go to my muscles, because I go into a fight and flight mode. Similarly, glucose in my liver will be metabolized, it will just break down, and there will be sufficient amount of glucose, because if we want to run, we can run. Now, when shifting of blood occurs, it is at the cost of blood supply to other organs. It is shifted from kidneys, no problem, for time being kidney can handle it, from the liver can handle it. But when continuously a snake is just in front of, see, imagine for 5 years a snake is just in front of me, what will happen to the chemical environment inside? In a child, it has been proved scientifically that blood supply to the brain is also shifted towards muscles in a flight and fight mode. And not only, there can be physical problems in a child which is under stress, there can be actual problems resulting in deficiency in his mental growth. This may not be anatomical deficiency, but this may be deficiency in development of his ability to solve problems. Problem-solving skills are decreased. Critical thinking is decreased. His ability to come up with the out-of-box solutions is decreased. Analytic ability is decreased. So second take-home message is that the first message was, sorry, I'm behaving like a school teacher, because I told you that I'll just tell you some of the skills which you can apply today, to your children. Number one, please remember, just telling them all the time to do this and not to do this doesn't work. The only thing that works is a role modeling. What you do, they will do. Number one. Second, I said that children below the age of 5 does not have any mechanism to handle stress. And if they are continuously kept in stress, their development goes down. And a time comes when stress level is so much that they cannot handle it. So they have another safety mechanism to handle it. And that safety mechanism is development of another center in their head. I don't want to make it technically very complicated. All of us has got a center for smell, olfactory center. All of us has an optic center, which actually through which we see. We have a speech center. We have got centers in our brain. These centers are made by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is one center, a child is not born with that center. But when stress is, it has the studies, psychological studies have shown that one of the reason of I'll just tell you, reveal the name of that center, is when a child at the age less than 5 is put into unnecessary stress. All the time he is worried that if my scores will not be up to mark, then I'm in trouble. All the time mama is worried that why in front of the auntie you are doing like this? Why you are not sitting like this? Why your room is not clean? Why when I go your bathroom is... I'm not saying that we should not train our children in doing that. But if we put them into stress, and that stress is now beyond the level, so body, you have got a short circuiting, fuse. If, for example, something wrong happens in the wiring, suddenly that fuse will go away so that it will save the whole system. So in order to save a child develops a center. The name of that center is center of lie. When a data comes to me, you ask me, what did you eat in your breakfast? It will go to my memory. I took this and I will answer you. But he will develop a center. Input data and output data will directly not come out. It will pass through that center, which is a lie center. And he will answer according to his own convenience. And psychology has shown us, cognitive psychology, especially in a childhood, development psychology, that a child becomes a liar, there can be many more reasons. But one of the reasons is when the stress at the age less than 5 is more than his capacity to handle the stress. Then child has only one choice. मैंने तो किया ही नहीं. No, I have not done it. And he starts developing a center and become a liar. And you can imagine if someone tells a lie, what you can talk about his character. Then this is actually mother of all problems. And the character just spoils. So the second thing is that please remember, below the age of 5, a child does not have the ability to handle this stress. So, and most of the time in educated families, the stress is why your academic scores are not very good. I'm not at all saying that you should not discipline your child. I'm not saying that if he does something wrong, he is throwing tantrums, he is not, behaving well, so you should just say that, no, we heard that there should be no stress. I'm not saying that. But there are techniques of making him disciplined. And that is to negotiate with him. The time is very short, so I just skip that portion. But I'm not saying that let him become totally out of discipline. But at least I can tell you with full responsibility that a child does not have a center, does not have got ability to handle the stress to beyond a level. This is second thing. The third thing is that before the age of 5, a child should be able to do what he can do. He should be allowed to do it himself. Over-pampering, over-facilitating, and doing the things for him or her which he can do himself is very, very dangerous. This is 3. Number 4, keeping him close to the nature. Keeping him away from artificial environment is very, very important. And out of those environments, one of them is the screen. And now there is a sufficient evidence, and recently Australian government has banned it in the schools. England has already done it. And in all over the world now, sufficient data is available that before the age of 5, exposing a child to a screen is very dangerous. It is very dangerous. Time is very short. We can talk hours and hours on effects of this, right? But I can just give you one example. This will actually, we think it's a social media. This is a very potent tool to make someone antisocial, although we call it a social media, right? And for a child, this will not be perceived as something wrong, rather it will be perceived as a normal pattern. And the data which will be coming unguarded, uncensored data, this is going to shape the mind of a child which is not being controlled by the parents. So please take my words. If you like, we can talk a lot about it, but please remember, this is very important, that as much as possible, a child should be kept away from screen. If your child does not even watch screen for the age of 5, he is not going to miss anything. However, if there is an academic requirement, some of the courses are there, then it is just like, then this is just like, so thank you. Then this is just like that you have got a knife in your home. Everyone has a knife in your kitchen, right? So having a knife is very dangerous. Okay, I can hold it maybe. Having a knife is very dangerous because someone can poke it in someone's tummy. But still you have a knife in your home because you know that a knife will be utilized only by those which know how to cut the vegetable, which know how to peel an apple, right? So if your child knows and is sufficiently trained that this instrument is for communication and this instrumentation is for information, perfectly fine. But till your child does not understand that this instrument is not for entertainment, this should not be allowed to the children, right? So again, I'm very sorry that I'm not capable enough to squeeze, what's supposed to be in 1 hour work, whole day workshop. But that is all I can tell you about parenting of a child which is less than 5 years of age. 3 principles I've shared with you. Number 1, it should be, child doesn't listen or doesn't do what you ask him or her to do. A child does what you do. Number 1. Second, I said, stress cannot be managed by a child. Number 3, whatever we want to teach a child has to be a contextual experience, right? Once a child crosses the age 5, then suddenly the basic foundation of his mental framework is established. And now the parenting has to be entirely different. And that change in the parenting is that from this time onward, we have to develop that yardstick of measuring a child's ability into ethical, non-ethical, guna, sawab, sahi and ghalat. And the technique of doing it, now we have to put that child into a discipline. And if he does not follow the discipline, then still there is no punishment. There is consequences. For example, there is a discipline in your house that food will be served at 8 o'clock. And your child says, maine nahi khana. No problem, don't eat. Now make sure that he doesn't get a food till 8 p.m. I am a doctor, I can tell you with certainty, nothing will happen to your child if he will not eat for 12 hours. Now make sure that he has this, he bears the consequences. Again, it is not a punishment, it's a consequences. So please remember that the principles are entirely different when a child is grown up. And one of them is always put him into a discipline. And this discipline has to be role modeled by the parents. If the discipline is that you can have only 1 hour use of this mobile, then Baba also has to follow this discipline and he has to use only for 1 hour. And if there are consequences of using it, violating the rule, the father has to bear the consequences as well. So this is for the grown-up children between 17 to 13. This is one principle. The other principle is, at this age, never refuse any answer to the, never, keep any answer, any question of the child as unanswered. Let him ask any question. And if you don't have any answer, I just tell you one technique in my workshops. Have a whiteboard in your home and he asks a question from you. You don't have an answer, just write on the board. And at the dinner time, say, this is the question asked by the younger brother. Anyone has the answer? If there is no answer, so whosoever will find the answer first, please let us know. So no matter how nasty an question is, no matter how bad a question is, but no question is bad question. So please remember, at this age group, number one principle I said was develop a discipline in a house and everyone has to follow that discipline. And the second principle is, in this age, whatever child asks, we have to offer some kind of an answer. 2, and the third thing is, a very important ability has to be developed in a child at this age, between 7 and 13, and that ability is the ability to accept no. And this is developed by a technique, whenever a child asks for something, this is what. From where you get it is how. For example, he asks a toy. So what he wants? A toy. From where you get it? From this shop. But don't buy him a toy unless and until he doesn't answer the third question. And that is why. And that why should be determined whether his desire will be fulfilled or it will not be fulfilled. I want a new pair of shoes. Okay, this is what. From where you find it? That shop. Why? Because my friend has the same type of shoes. This is not a valid why. I want at least 4 pairs of shoes. No, this is not a valid why. I am going to start my gym and my previous shoes are actually not good enough for that activity. This is a good why. If you have a lot of money and the why is not appropriate, please don't buy him the shoes. If his why is appropriate and you don't have a money, please borrow the money and buy him the shoes. So reason for fulfilling the desires of children just because you have got a financial ability is not the reason. The why has to be very strong. And this thing has to be inculcated in a child's mind between the age of 7 to 30. There are many other do's and don'ts in this age as well. One of them is that you make a list of the people you want your child to meet. For example, living here, you would like him to meet Dr. Yasir Qadi. For example, in Pakistan, you want to meet him to Amjad Saqib Saab. You want to meet him, any big person there. You make a list of the places where you have to take your child. You have to make a list of the topics that has to be discussed with him compulsorily. For example, death. For example, qabr. For example, Allah. For example, risalat. For example, homosexuality. For example, LGBT. For example, global warming. For example, relationship with the elder brothers and sisters. Now so this is the do's of this age group. There are so many I've just told you. But this is being recorded as well. I mean, if someone interested can, replay it. But these are the things which is required. And then the instruments. Make a list at what age he should be able to use screwdriver. At what age you allow him to ride a motorbike. At what age you allow him to use computer. So these are don'ts and do's of this age group. There are many, but these are few take-home messages. After the age of 13, actually, a big transformation takes place. Now your child is no more a child. He is an adult. If we have done everything right according to the principles I shared with you and many more, by this time, your child will have a relation with you, which will be a relation of mentor and mentee. He will be independent or she will be independent. And it will be a great news if your child is independent. But he will treat you as a mentor and he will ask from you, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want your opinion, please give me your opinion. What do you think are the pros, what are the cons of this thing? And this type of relation he will have. And if we have not done it according to the principles which I have told you, most likely, by this time, there will be a distance between parents and a child. And there is a very important litmus paper test for that. If your child wants to sit with you, you have done a good parenting and you have maintained that relationship. If your child says, Baba, I'm going to buy a few things for me, please come with me. Baba, I'm just doing a homework, but you please stay with me. Is it possible if I can, have your 1 hour and we can just talk? If your son or daughter is longing to be with you, you have done a good parenting. But if he is trying to just skip, and he is happy when Baba has gone to another state for 2 days and is very happy, that means we have done something seriously wrong. And something in the subconscious of the child, parents have not remained respectful. And if this happens by the age of 13, instead of having a relationship of mentor or mentee, he had to find another Baba or Mama in order to fill that vacuum and gap. And there are studies. One of the studies has been done in India, and another study somewhere else, many studies elsewhere as well, that if a male child doesn't have that vacuum because of strictness, unnecessary stress in his life before the age of 13, there is always a boy elder to him in his life, which is now the replacement of Baba. Baba slapped on his face when he first knew that he smoked. But this boy is very good. Not only he didn't harm him, rather he brought the cigarettes for him as well. So who will be more precious? Which relationship is more useful? So that Baba will be responsible. And those children which are involved in drugs, those are involved in unethical activities, those who have got those unacceptable behaviors are usually those which at the time where they first experienced that bad thing, they did not have a backup cover of their parents with whom they can share because they had a fear that they will be dealt very strictly. And a study from India is very, very painful. It shows that in a girl, because see the circumstances in Pakistan and India are similar. The social circumstances and setup is almost similar. So we can actually generalize it into Pakistani society as well. I don't know much about the Western society, but according to that Indian study, if a girl has not a good relationship with her parents, and you give her a mobile as well, by the age of 9 to 10, an elderly gentleman has already entered in her life. Just try to visualize our daughter, age 12, 18, 12. That study shows that if our relationship with her is not strong, and strong relation has only one parameter. If your child does something wrong, does he or she has a courage to share it with the parents? And that is the answer to the question of peer pressure. Wherever I went, people asked for me peer pressure. We do everything right in this society, but when they go into outer society. So my answer always is that if your child has a strong peer pressure and he commits something But same day, he shares it with mama or baba. You are doing a great parenting. And that is the maximum you can do. Because once you know it, and your child knows that my baba and mama will not be judgmental. They won't like this act, but they will not dislike me. Then they are safe. Because now you can intervene. But see, I told you the result of that study, which shows that girls, if they have got that strained relationship, an elderly man has already come in their life. And you can imagine how serious that can be. The psychology of male, at least in that Indian-Pakistan culture, psychology of an adult male most of the time is very ugly. Sorry. I wanted to use a more strong word, but I think ugly is the minimum which I can just share with you. So that's all I have to say. This is just an outline of the principles. But I can just emphasize on this point that please, if you are potential parents, that you are married and you are not yet parents, please put it in your priority list that you have to learn that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you with a child, how are you going to bring them? And if you are already parents, sometimes they ask, in this society, a male is working, female is also working, mother has doing 2 jobs, baba is doing 2 jobs. So how to implement all those? My answer is very, very radical in that case. You don't grow a tree if you can't water it. If career is your priority, then please don't have children. Just focus your priority. And when you have sufficient, time, only then you just have children. Because this will be a very unfair for that human being, which we bring, which comes through us. And he does not get that proper nurturing environment which he or she deserves. And since it is not being done, this is why the whole world is like this. It is not, piece of Jannat, this world. Because it's filled up with people who are egoistic people. People who are, they have got their own vested interest and they are not, lead their life according to some kind of a character. So now I'll take just 3 minutes before I stop, and then there will be question answer. I know I have not done justice with this topic, and I could say more, but because of time, I want to tell you a story. And this story, real story. And this story is in a response to a question that when we should start grooming and training our child. In response to that, I'm telling you a story. There was a small city in Iraq. Name of the city was Tikrit. Anyone from the Iraq? Anyone from Iraq, from brothers? So there is a city, Tikrit. Khalifa of that city was Usman. And the governor of that city was Najmuddin Ayyub. Now they were friends as well. He was his boss, but they were friends as well. So Usman was not deciding about his marriage. And Khalifa would always say him, why don't you, you're getting older, why are you not getting married? He always used to say, I don't find any girl which comes to my standard. And he asked, what is your standard? He said, my standard is I want a girl which should hold my hand and take me to Jannah. And we have a son, and we teach him and train him and made him a very, very strong, Urdu ka lafaz tha Shah Sawar. We want to make him Shah Sawar. And then we want him to bring us back the Qibla Awwal, Baitul Maqdis. He said, now from where you will find this type of girl? After a few days, they were sitting in the company of a Shaykh, who was an elderly person, and that Shaykh had a sitting place where gentlemen would also come and ladies would also come, and with a partition, the ladies are also sitting. So a lady was talking, and both of them were sitting there, Khalifa and that Shaykh told that girl that I recommended a rishta for you, a marriage partner for you, but you refused. So that girl said, and they were listening, because he was not of my standard. Nikha, what was your standard, my daughter? Said, my standard is, I want to marry someone who will hold my hand and take me to the Jannah. I'm having goosebumps, after listening to that. And they were just listening, and they said, what's she saying? And she continued, and she said, then Allah gave us a son. And we train them and groom them so that he becomes very strong. And then he should just bring out of that a shameful situation, and he brings back Qibla Awal for us. And suddenly that Shaykh, Najmuddin Ayub said, I want to marry this girl. So Shaykh, let that lady go, and he said, she is the poorest lady in this whole takreet. His father is most poor. He's thinking, no matter whether she is poor or rich, I want to marry. And they married to each other. They had a son. And name of that son was Salahuddin Ayyubi. So my dear brothers and sisters, what vision we have for our children, even when they are not born, that is transferred in their character. We know in our Pakistan, when a father and mother says, I have to make all my 4 children as doctor, they make them doctor. And they work hard very honestly. I've seen so many families, they said, we want each one of my child as a doctor, so they become doctor. It's very competitive back home, here too as well. So, but when we don't have a vision to make our children as a characterful people, when we don't have a vision that they should be one who should be real Abdullah and real Ummati of Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, then of course it will not be transferred, right? So, these are 2 pennies I want to just deposit and put in this very vast knowledge of parenting. Thank you very much for your patient listening. If you have any questions, and I'm in a very comfortable position because, and I'm not worried about questions, because if I don't have the answer, I'll say I don't have the answer. So if there is any question and I can answer, I'll be very happy to respond.
The next question, I would request Dr. Javed to say something about the 3 C's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's referring to my previous talk, in which I just shared that the greater goals of parenting are 3. That a child must be characterful, he must be confident, and he must be very creative. But I just skipped this because of the constraint of the time. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yes, please. Yes, sister, I'm listening. Yes, in the meantime, yes, please.
So if someone is missing as you say, like the age of 3 to 5 and 7 to 13, if someone is missing that, how can we cover that gap?
Thank you. Brothers asked the question that if, for example, someone misses those 13-year principles and now his child is 14 years or 15 years, is this the question? Now, how to compensate that? Well, we can still compensate it, but we have to change our thinking process completely. If, for example, your child is not having good habits, please take it off from your head to make him someone who has a good habits. The only thing you can do is just love him unconditionally. He has become like this because we don't have that relation with that child, and lack of that relation is responsible for going astray. Now, so although it is very difficult to swallow, it is very difficult for us to digest and understand that he is in bad habit and you are asking us not to actually follow this and not to spy him or not to just tell him that thing. Please trust me. Just restore that relationship first before being in a position that you can change him. And that is through unconditional love. Unconditional love means, it does not mean that I love you because you are a good boy. I love you because you get good marks. I love you because you have a good job. I love you because you respect me. No. I love you because I love you. That's the only reason for love. This is very difficult. Maulana Room has talked a lot about it. Because old psychology says that something when goes from habit to behavior to personality, then it is not changeable. But I read a literature, only Maulana Room said that one thing can change a person back to 180 degree, and that is unconditional love.
Yeah.
So if you have missed the train, you have, and how to do it technically? Oh, I can give you a skill as well. The technical way of doing it is give him a quality time. And quality time means time, agenda of what you're going to do that time is decided by the child. Now, what we do as a quality time is, okay, I'm not going to for work for 3 hours and I'll spend with my child. You take him to a coffee shop and there you ask, what about your studies? How many marks? So this is not a quality time. Actually, your child is giving you the time. You are not giving him the time. Quality time is that for those 3 hours, if he wants fishing, just do fishing. If he wants to go to a basketball court, if you want to go to see a movie, just go for a movie. So whatever he wants, it just do with that. And it's not an easy ride. You have to invest maybe 1 day, maybe 1 week, maybe 1 month, maybe 1 year, maybe 10 years. But that's the only way. There's no other way. And there is a second thing which is certain to show. This first one may not show you the 100% results. But second one is certain. And that is, please never underestimate the power of dua. Make a dua for your child. Please don't your child may go a lot away from you, but he cannot go away enough that he is out of the range of your dua. And I can tell you with my personal experience, honestly speaking, only 2 things you can do. Develop a relationship with a child, which may take a long period of time, and that's the only way he can come back. And the second is, you offer nafal for him. You give sadaqah for him. You fast for him. You start tahajjud for him. And start praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are 2 things which I think can be done.
Sister has a question.
Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm a mother of 4, and I have a question about if some kid that is 7 to 13 years of age, and you see like he's developing the lie center. So what are the strategies we should use to solve this problem?
Say it again, please. I didn't get the last.
I'm saying if some 7 to 13 years of age kid is developing.
Have a feedback for that. Let's go this side.
If he develops that, right.
Yeah.
Well, okay, got it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Well, sister, if someone tells a lie and you are sure that your child has told a lie, one thing which is very important not to do is don't make him realize that you know that he has told a lie. Just don't let him know that you know it. And we do it opposite. He says something and we say, no, it's a lie. He said, no, it's not a lie. You can, okay, let me call your teacher and let me see what your teacher is saying. We want to prove him. Please remember, proving a guilt has got only one purpose, and that is to punish him. Your purpose is not to punish a person who is lying, which is your son or daughter. Your purpose is to change his behavior. And if you want to change his behavior, then just making him realize and a jury just declares him guilty of it will not solve the purpose. Number 2 important point is, the most important thing for any person, may it be child or an elderly person, is self-respect. If one of your children is telling a lie regularly, then public humiliation will further strengthen his belief on a lie. So never ask him in front of other brothers and sisters, in front of other siblings. If you have to really inquire it, it has to be is a private affair. It should be in a kind of a confession box, not a public humiliation. And number 3 is, never try to mend it at the heat of the matter. For example, he told a lie and you caught it and you want to sort it right now. This is the worst time to sort it out. The best time to sort it out is when everything is calm and quiet and there is no, rush in the environment. Then you just talk, and talk in such a way that give him a chance to explain it. And while you do it with this strategy that your child realizes that mama is not judgmental about it. Don't tell him that you are a liar tell him, you told a lie. There's a difference between these two. When you tell him that you are a liar, which means, I know your niyat. How you can know a niyat of somebody? Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the niyat. So if you just label your child as a liar, that means you have got a conviction that he is not going to change. So since it is your desire that he should not change, why he should change? Instead of telling him the message that you are a liar, you have to tell him, you told a lie. And if you want to go to a higher level, a lie has been told by you. The blame is on the act, not on the person. Right? Please remember, your son or anybody in this earth is like a diamond because it is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately, some diamonds are there in a gutter. And since they have a filth on it, but from the inside they are diamonds. When you clean it, they become diamond. So if your child having any bad habit, whether it is a lying, whether it is stealing, whether it is bullying someone, so these are the principles. Don't insult them. Don't publicly humiliate them. Don't be judgmental about them. Don't have a belief in your heart that no, this he cannot change. I know it is difficult, but make a strategy. Strategy is keep on showing an unconditional behavior of love and then save them from the stress that they will be punished, they will be scolded. We need punishment at times, but punishment is the end point. Before punishment, there is feedback, there is counseling, there is advice, there is mentoring, and then comes the punishment. And when punishment occurs, that means we have decided that that is point of no return. But I can assure you, no matter your child has gone stray to any level, there is no point of no return. And a child can come back. I hope I answered the question. These are few principles which we have to follow in this situation.
The question?
Yes, please. I'm listening.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I have two questions. They're the same thing, but one for adults and one for children. What do you do or how do you take care of children that have ego or like they are in denial, they don't want to accept their mistake or they just never want to be proved wrong? And same thing for adults. How do you work or help with the adults that don't want to be proved wrong or they don't want to accept that they are wrong, and how do you help with that? Like, how do you get them to understand that no, this is wrong and you should be careful, or how would you take care of those? One for adults and one for children between the ages 15 to like 18.
Yes. Should I repeat it so that we know that I understood it well? You said that how to address someone who is an adult, grown-up child, and a young child who has got ego. And he doesn't want to listen and he always wants him to be right. So how to address this? See, a child which is above 15 years of age is actually a separate entity. That is an individual which is not attached to you. It's very difficult to swallow it. But this is true. He is an adult. But only because his fee is paid from your checks and because he lives in your own home and because you cook for him. So this is why uski majburi hai. That is his, he's handicapped. Otherwise, whenever he will find a chance, he will go. Not only in US, in Pakistan as well. And a mother will say, oh, I don't know, मैं कहाँ से ये लड़की ब्याह लेके ले आई हूँ, मेरे बेटे को लेके चली गई है. It is not that. It is those chipede which were deposited there and now with the interest it is coming back. So whatever chipade we have on a child of our child or whatever, we just talk harshly with that child, that is being deposited in the bank. No one accepts problem. See, if you slap me on my face over here, I will not forget it ever, no matter how emotional intelligent I am. How a child, because he is 4 years of age and because he eats from your kitchen, will tolerate it? But he has no capacity to express it. But it will be engraved in his head. And this is why children have got love-hate relationship with their parents. If the mother will be sick, they will be very much worried. And on the other side, whatever their mom say, they will tell to your friends that meri mama to aisi kehti rehti hain. And this love-hate relationship occurs because that type of stress we put on the child. Well, anyway, we swayed from the topic, but sister, I think 15 years old is an adult. You have to treat him exactly the way you treat your colleague in your workplace. If you have an egoistic person in your workplace, how you treat him? The way you treat that egoistic person, you have to treat that way. There is no other. Apart from dua, I'm sorry, at least I'm incapable of telling you any skill which can change a 15 years. Then you may ask, does it mean that adults will never change? If adults don't change, then why prophets came? If adults cannot change, why Hazrat Khalid bin Walid changed? He held the ghulaf of Kaaba and he said, even everyone is changed. I'm not going to change. How he changed? How has Umar changed? Well, adults change. I'll repeat this. Children change when we create a contextual environment around them. Adults only change when they want them to be changed. They don't change by orders. They don't change by advices. They accept advice only when they want advice. So the only help you can do for an adult is somehow make him realize that he needs to be changed. That is the only help an adult can do with a child. So for an adult, you can do that. And for an ego of a young, please look at the environment from where he is learning the ego. Because sometimes we say that child is egoistic, but actually it is mother or father who are egoistic. For example, eat this vegetable. He said, I don't want to eat this vegetable. No, you have to eat the vegetable. So I'm not eating the vegetable. Now a father or mother thinks that my child is stubborn. But if you look at the child's point of view, he thinks my parents are stubborn. Who is Ziddi? But the parents ki zid hai. So sometimes when a younger child is egoistic, I would say just look at the environment. Look at your own behavior. Look at the behavior of people around them. From where he's learning this egoistic attitude. So sometimes we think we have got privileges because we are born earlier. And we think we have got privileges because we are mama and daddy. That doesn't give us any privilege. Our privilege is only one, that I have got a responsibility. Our privilege is actually our responsibility. So that's what I feel. I don't know whether I've answered this question or not. Yes, please. See, always people think that, the speaker is taking a lot of time. So when there is a question answer session, the speaker is relaxed. Because if there is a delay, it is not because of me, right? And moreover, if any brother wants to go, any sister wants to go, officially it is finished. So just, as a courtesy, please don't sit here, right? Right. So please.
Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab. Jazakallah khair for your time again. So my first question is a follow-up to, what the brother asked, if you missed the train by 5 years old, right? Like you mentioned after post 13, but you messed up, between 0 to 5. Is there, how do you come back? Is it the same thing,
Yeah, 5 years old is no problem. Just you have to undo yourself. Just unwind those things, which you have already done it. And just give give a time. Most important thing is give him a time. And during that time, most of the talking has to be done by the child, not you. You have to be a patient listener. That's all. That's all you have to do. You have to give him an unconditional time, and you have to just involve him to natural activities, and you see everything will be fine.
And a follow-up to that, I can see the problem with myself, basically...
A bit louder, please.
Yeah. So I'm saying I can see the problem is with myself, where I get triggered, basically where I get easily annoyed. So are there any tips for me to improve? Like you said, right parenting is improving myself. How do I improve that I don't get annoyed quickly or don't get emotional, right?
Okay. So that's entirely a different ball game, that how an adult should learn how to get rid of the anger. That's what you're saying, huh? Please tell me the exact word so that I can... Annoying, you got annoyed. So why do we get... So, we will go away from the topic, but just see why we get annoyed. Why we get annoyed? We get annoyed when situation is not under our control. If situation is under our control, we are not annoyed. Why situation is not under our control? Because we have problem with our capacity. When we have got any lack of capacity to handle a situation, we get annoyed. Right? If we think, no, I am okay, but people around me are annoying, that only means we lack the capacity to handle the people who are annoying. And we have to learn the ability to handle the people who are annoying people and narcissist people. So again, we have to work on ourselves. See, brother, what is happening outside is not under my control. But what is happening inside has to be under my control. If what is happening inside me is under your control, then I'm a mere puppet. I'm like a chabi ki battakh. Have you seen chabi ki battakh? Tuk, 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 tuk. Then I'm being controlled. I'm happy because you made me happy. I'm angry because you made me angry. I'm sad because you made me sad. That sadness, that happiness has to be indigenous coming out of me. I'm not saying that outer environment doesn't trigger it. It does. But we must. I'm not saying, again, the same example with Javed likes very much. I'm not saying that there's no raining outside. But important thing is, do you have a raincoat? You can't stop that raining. But when you go out, wear the raincoat. Now this rain will not disturb you. So that ability inside, that I should not get me. Now just look into yourself, do a reflection, and see what are the areas where I lack certain type of skills and capacities. Right? And then work on those things. And also, please let yourself know that if someone is doing bad, that is his problem. But my problem is whether I can save myself from that person or not. May it be your spouse, may it be your son, or may it be a stranger. So that's my response to it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sister
Dr.
has a
Sahab-
question.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Oh.
Yes, please. Yes, sister.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A bit louder, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam.
Recently, I have separated from my husband because of the husband not being a good parent and a good husband. So that affects the children. So I just want to, I have a few questions. Like, how can I fix my child's trauma that has happened, that they have seen all through, that have gone through at home from a very young age, as you have said? And that is the first question. The second question is...
I'm afraid you have to repeat it. I mean, or someone can help me, Yeah. Oh, they're separated?
Sister got separated and
Okay.
she wants to know how she can help her children from the trauma that they have been going through since childhood.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I usually prefer in these meetings that we should not discuss the individual problems, because the individual problems have a different parameters. And you need to know more details about it before answering it. So I'm really sorry if I don't answer it very precisely, but I'll give you the principles. The principle is that please don't let your anxiety be poured on your children. I know it must be very painful for you. This is a very traumatic situation for you. But if you just spill it over to your children, maybe you talk ill about your husband, maybe you talk about those bad circumstances in which this happened. Your children, if they are very young, for them, and I give this example many times, that our village people in Pakistan, when they have to go for Hajj, they say, I want to go to Makkah, Medina. And when you tell them, Makkah is 300 kilometers apart from Medina, they won't listen to it. Say, no, Huzur ke shahar ja rahe, Makkah, Medina. For a child, parents are like Makkah, Medina. Before age 5, it's very difficult for a child to perceive them as two different entities. And if they are at the opposite pole, or if they fight with each other, or if their relationship are not very good, it is just like destroying Makkah, Medina for a child. Right? So no matter whose fault was that, but a child's image about his father, if that is being tarnished, if that is being disturbed, then a child's personality will be very badly affected. So I think you have got a big test, my dear sister, and that test is that you have to bear it yourself, ask for the support from more elderly people, so that, and make a counseling session with them, so that you calm down yourself and you understand it, that it had to happen, it's bad, it is just like someone is asked to get his limb amputated. This is something which is very difficult, but what to do? It has been amputated now. So I have to adjust my other hand to feed it. So, but this anxiety must not be poured and spilled over to your children. And I will suggest you that tell them the truth. Tell them Treat them like an adult. Tell them the truth, what happened, in such a way that blame does not go to your husband. So this is something which I can add, but I know it is very testing, and I will suggest you to please talk to the elder sisters or someone elders who can have the skills of the counseling so that you can debrief them, right? If you allow, can we stop here? Yeah, okay. Yes, please. Okay, what was the second question? Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, can we make it a last question, please? Right.
Question.
Because if I told you everything, that means I will not need to come back again here. But honestly, I love you so much that I want to come back. So even if I know a few more things, I will not let you know. Yeah, and if you know Urdu Shairi, Munir Niazi said that कुछ बातें अनकही रहने दो, कुछ बातें अनसुनी रहने दो, सब बातें दिल की कह दी अगर फिर बाकी क्या रह जाएगा, सब बातें उसकी सुन ली अगर फिर बाकी क्या रह जाएगा. So let's leave something unsaid, so that we meet again. Please, this is the last one.
So one question that I have. First of all, Jazakallah khair for coming. It's really great to see you in person, and really benefited from your videos as well. My question is, how do you help reconcile double personalities in growing children? Meaning a personality for home and a different personality outside, in the school, in the other areas, because we have a cultural difference, because obviously we have our cultures at home. So the double personality, and how do you manage that in children?
Well, what we mean by personality, technically, that we need to understand first. There are two opposite terms. One is personality, another one is individuality. Personality is something which we adopt according to the circumstances. For example, you fly to Pakistan or wherever country, a hostess will come and say, "Hello, how are you, sir? What would you like to have?" And suddenly, his lips will squeeze and she's not smiling. And when she will go to the other person and say, "Hello, how are you?" Again, she will like this. Now, this is a personality character which is required for that profession, right? There are certain mannerisms which are required for a particular situation. And for utilitarian purpose, they are very important. Obviously, there's a utilitarian purpose. For example, Imam comes over here and he's wearing a pant which is just below his neck, the knees, and he is having a kind of a long Bermuda short. And if he comes here for a prayer, there is not, Sharait taur pe it is covered. But this is not the requirement. We expect an Imam to be dressed properly. And if you wear a sherwani and go for a beach, this is not on, right? So there are few skills, mannerisms which are for the situation. And that is called personality traits. And there is nothing wrong with that. But problem occurs when bad thing becomes your individuality. Right? So if you are saying that in other circumstances your children behaves in a different way, when it comes in a home in a different way, I think it's a good skill.
I meant more like being religious at home and being completely non-religious outside.
But then it's our fault. That means somehow we have developed them a habit of telling a lie, if you say, because munafiqat is a telling of a lie. Not being pure inside all the time is a problem. So that can be addressed very easily if we inculcate value system in our child. Since long, those who are involved in teaching and learning, Hamid will know it more than we, that we thought that knowledge is everything. So Sukrat knew everything. You ask anything from Sukrat, he will tell you. Sukrat told that women have got 28 teeth and men have 32 teeth. And he had 2 wives. He never really tried to ask senior Mrs. Sukrat to open the mouth and count the teeth, or the junior Mrs. Sukrat to ask for it. And people believed it. There was a time when it was thought knowledge is everything. Then we realized that no, skills have to be inculcated. And then we realized no, attitude has to be there. But fairly recently, all the educationists have said, even if you make these things very good, if you don't have a value system as a part of the training, you are deficient. We can teach theory of appendicitis to a child, to a doctor. We can tell him how to do it, and he does it very professionally, right? but he operates on a wrong patient. And he operates for the sake of money. So unless and until value system is not there, that knowledge is not useful. So if a child is having that, there is some deficiency of teaching them the values. And I can give you again take home, because since I'm doing this very regularly, I always end up with giving you a take home message which you can apply. One thing you can start in your home today, and all of us, whatever we talk in our home should not be such that it should celebrate the money. It should celebrate the value. You want to praise this chandelier. Don't tell them कि ये 3 लाख रुपए का है. Tell them this is beautiful. If you bought a big car, don't tell them ये 3 crore की है. Tell them it is very capacious. Your friends can also come with it when we go for namaz for Fajr. So there's no harm in becoming rich. But don't celebrate your richness. Anything which celebrates money actually puts that in a low value level. Anything which celebrates the values in our home, whether you are poor or rich, that doesn't make a difference. But if you celebrate values in our home, then your child will not be hypocritic like this. And values have to be incorporated. For example, if mom is saying all that, this is a very favorite example of mine. If a Pakistani mom says, "Ghar mein ladai machi hui hai, I have to have a new suit for Mehndi, I have to have a new suit for Barat, I have to have a fresh suit for Walima." Otherwise, what Mrs. Qureshi will tell me, or what Mrs. Falam will say. If this is what child is listening, and Papa is saying, "I have to buy 16 Pro Max," without a strong why. Why? Because my friends have bought it. Because I have a money. Then this child there will be a problem with this child. Because for him, value will be of the money, or the things which can be bought by money. So if we celebrate those things which money cannot buy in a home, we are talking about truthfulness, we are talking about, glory. Honestly speaking, when last time in our home, we just asked our children to come together and we tell, okay, today we will talk about Hazrat Khadija. When this happened last time in our home? Okay, we may not continuously talking about religion. When last time we said, let's talk about Einstein, right? So talking in our home, tazkare jo ghar ke hai na, they have to be such that they should not be celebrating the money. They should be celebrating the values, and you will see those miracles in the children. So Jazakallah khair. Let's pray that whatever I have said, Allah accepts it. And may Allah give me tawfiq that there is no riya in it, there is no dikhawa in it. And may Allah give us tawfiq to act upon it.
إن المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات والقانتين والقانتات والصادقين والصادقات والصابرين والصابرات والخاشعين والخاشعات والخاشعين والخاشعات والمتصدقين والمتصدقات والصائمين والصائمات والحافظين فروجهم والحافظات والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات أعد الله لهم مغفرة وأجرا عظيما.